Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cookbook. I'm Iris Goldfeder, and I'm your host, and this is like the 10th freaking take of this intro. So, yes, it's been one of those days, but I'm super excited about our guest today. Brittnay Murphy is, I call her my sister from another mister. We met a few months ago. We've, spoken a few times, and we both curse like sailors. So this may end up being on the explicit side. But I'm going to read her bio and bring her in. Okay, so over the last 8 years, Brittnay has created over 300 digital marketing strategies for clients locally and nationally. And you people are probably scratching your head right now, but this is going to be good. Brittnay focuses on helping home service business owners get their phones to ring with new leads through optimizing their website and online presence. Iris, isn't that what you do? Anyway, through her strategies and team at One Thing Marketing, they have helped local businesses increase their revenue by an average of 30% every year. So without further ado, let's meet Brittnay.
Hey, Iris.
How are you?
I'm doing great. And I now I have to ask you, Iris, isn't that what you do?
I know, isn't that what you do?
Yeah, weird. So that's kind of why I'm really excited to be with you today.
Yeah, and I think the funny thing is, on a few of the episodes that I've had other marketers, right? Excuse me, and people are like, you've had marketers, you do marketing, you're having a digital marketing person on there, and it's like, this is my point, and you and I have talked about this like ad nauseum, right? You don't have to fucking be competition. You can collaborate. Somebody may not be a good fit for me and I can refer them to you. Someone may not be a good fit for you and you can refer them to me, or we can work on a project together. Oh my God, what a concept.
Exactly. So it is nice to find someone that finally vibes in a similar way as that. So there's kind of far and few in between, but that's honestly why it makes it great when we can collab. And honestly, the other thing as well is when you talk about what clients is working and what's not working for them, like we can actually split test off one another. So remember that, people, good marketers should be networking with other marketers.
100%, because here's the thing, right? We don't know everything. We may think we do. On some days we wake up, we're like, oh yeah, I'm it. But we don't know everything, and we may screw up, and we may be able to just, call each other up and be like, hey, I did this. What do you think about this? Or I have this project coming up. What do you think about this? How would you handle it? And it's not stealing anybody's idea. It's not stealing anybody's client. It's actually brainstorming together. And because you do the same thing, there's this synergy, not a competition. And I love that, the first time we spoke, that's, it was like, you do what? Awesome. Let's talk. Instead of like, oh, well, you're my competition, so we can't talk. I think that's insane.
No, exactly. And thanks to shout out to Kat for introducing us.
Yes. Well, Kat's the shit. So, I got to get her on here. I'm going to get her on here one way or another. So, but good. So tell us about you and what you do in your business and all that stuff and why you're the badass that you are.
Yeah. So, just as you explained in the intro, I do very much similar things to you, Iris. Kind of what I focus on more is I'm kind of running all the sales and all the marketing. So really, that's more hats than just one in a sense, even though a lot of times sales and marketing go really close together. I'm the one kind of creating all the strategies for ourselves internally that we're going to implement to get new clients. And then also selling new people on all the things we've decided we need to do for ourselves and that they need to be doing for their business also. But kind of what I've kind of been telling people as well, usually the question is like, well, kind of why are you doing this? And, why is Iris and I focusing on homes, trades in a sense? And kind of the short story as far as me, just a little bit of background, is I also grew up in a blue collar family. And so I really kind of understood working for a local business and kind of like a family business at that. You really kind of live and breathe by how the business is doing. So if there's not a lot of leads coming in, the phone's not ringing, well, that means that there's no business dollars coming in either. And that can be very seasonal based, or it can kind of be very inclement things we weren't expecting based. I have some clients that are roofers in Texas right now. And, although we love working with them and they love us, it's a hard time because they're not getting a lot of leads. There is the biggest drought that they've had in Texas in years. And so it's not just a drought of rain, it's a drought of leads. So it is kind of fun to have that background to understand exactly what our clients are going through, but more fun, to be honest, not working in that business and kind of not having my family in it now. They're getting close to retirement, focusing more on just helping them instead. So kind of doing the dirty work of the strategy that I know you and I both love.
Right. And for me, the trades are a love because the first few clients I had were trades, and I got to learn the business. And I probably know more about roofing and, resurfacing and a bunch of other stuff than I ever thought that I would in my life. But it's really, it's cool. I mean, to me, I love all the technical stuff. And, when you say that, when the phone doesn't ring and, the leads don't come in, one of the best and most impactful things that one of my clients told me, and I don't know if I told you this, was over Christmas time. I always give like our local clients, and now my national clients are going to be getting stuff. So, but my local clients, I always, would buy a little gift and drop it off at the, at their shop and whatever. And so I did last year. And then my client handed me a gift back, and I went, "You don't need to do that," and he said, "No," he goes, "I appreciate you. You're part of the family." He goes, "I got to tell you something. It's not lost on me what you do." And I didn't know what I was like. What do you mean? And he said, "What you do, your efforts with the marketing and everything that you're doing, puts food on my guy's table." And you talk about a holy shit moment. I never looked at it like that. I mean, I knew that I was helping him grow his business. I knew that I was helping him bring more leads in and all that. I never looked at it as like feeding somebody. So that completely changed the trajectory of how I thought, how I think of what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Completely changed it.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like it sometimes takes my clients to warm up to the personal side of the situation as well, where, when they're first coming to you or I, there's kind of like, hey, we need more business. We want to grow by this much percent, they come with kind of straight facts. They have a mission, it's great. But it's kind of usually once you like get under, you peel them back like an onion, you're getting through that strategy, you're kind of helping them prioritize what they're going after. And then all of a sudden they're finally admitting, we were very nervous about doing this because, we haven't invested in this before. And this is really like, it's our last thing we're going to try. It's either this is going to work or this isn't going to work. So we're putting our dollars like in this as like the holy grail, which puts a shit ton of stress on you as a marketer.
Right. Right. You're like, no pressure here. Don't worry about,
Not at all. I'm not sweating bullets at all underneath my jacket, when you have that. But what's glorious is a situation just like you described, is they told you that. And within a couple months, things pick up. They're starting to see a trajectory happen. They're scaling their business and they're kind of understanding, oh, wow, like I'm so glad I did invest that time in this person so long ago. And I mean, I'm saying 6 months as if that feels like 6 years. And for some entities, it's going to take a bit. I mean, you might be going against a huge competition. I mean, I don't know the situation, but seeing that. And then now, because you've had that personal touch and that personal level of, like, I know this means a lot to you, therefore I'm even more invested in this as well. And now they tell you those personal things, that I think that's probably what keeps you and I focused on this, where we're getting ideas at 2 a.m. and jotting them down, because it's like, I know this would help them and they'd appreciate it. So, this is the stuff that kind of fuels us.
Right. And it's when he said that, and it made me realize the impact of what we do has, it made me view what I do differently. And like you said, it's, when you sit down and you work on a strategy with them. And I mean, I've had some people say, yeah, this is the last time I'm going to do this. But I've also had other people, be like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I have no idea. So it's for you to, show me. And it's like, okay, well, here's your current state. Here's your desired state. Let's sit down and, we'll look at what you need.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part for me, because like you said, right, they're kind of like, oh, I never would have thought of that. Well, yeah, that's why you hire us.
Yeah.
Is because you wouldn't have thought of that, because I have met so many business owners that they're like, oh, I do my own marketing. I know what I'm doing. Really? What's your ROI? Well, what do you mean? How much is your how many leads a month are you getting?
Yeah. What's even your
Well, I
budget
don't
on your
know.
marketing?
Right. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I get a lead, I run out, and then I do the job, and then I come back. I'm like, right. So you're going after the leads. You're going out, you're doing the job, you're coming back, you're getting another lead, you're going out, you're doing, so your sales are probably going like this, like a roller coaster. So for people who can't see, I'm doing like a roller coaster hand gesture.
She's rolling with the homies from Clueless.
I'm rolling.
If you ever saw
I'm
that
rolling,
movie with
right?
Brittnay Murphy.
So because they're going to have a great month because they just sold the month before, but now they have to go out and do the damn job. And now they did the job. So now they have to go back, get the other lead, and go back and do the other job. And when they work with us, they don't have to worry about that because the leads are coming in. So all they have to do is do the job. Great. Here's another lead. Go finish the job. Have your team do it, whatever. And when they realize that, and it actually, you can see when it clicks, right? Like you can see them go, okay. Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing,
And even, I'm not sure if you kind of feel the same way or you do this at times. I think we're all guilty of it. I mean, in the first sense, like we all kind of came here in a sense of we're good at this. I mean, that's kind of where our name came from. Like you might be good at this one thing. Like if you're a plumber, you are a badass at understanding how plumbing valves work, the flows, like the connections. I mean, how you need to design the grid system so shit does not come into someone's home, all those kind of things. That doesn't mean you need to or are going to be able to design what do my clients need to hear from me, so therefore I should market myself. And so it's kind of one thing anytime I talk like entrepreneurship, or if you're a business owner or like a partner, like what the heck should you be doing? Like, delegation's one of the first things like I would recommend once you have the funds, to do that as much as possible, because like you're not good at everything and you're never going to be good at everything. And that's fine. So offload those things like you're awful at first. And I really do think outside of like bookkeeping, payroll situations, because that can be very technical and tricky. And no one wants to get audited and have shit go down in a bad way. Right. Maybe your books is something that you kind of get that professional pretty quickly for, because it's also time intensive unless you were an accountant previously. But marketing, something where like you can do some things yourself, but like you really need to offload as much as you can in that department, because even though like we're marketers, and this is what I was going to ask you, hopefully you don't do this too much to yourself, Iris, but we're the shoe cobbler's kids. Like we're the redheaded stepchild in the family, because when it comes to doing our own marketing, here I am saying I'm the marketing director. I create the internal plan. I execute the internal plan. I do everything sales for the external side of it. I don't get my way all the time. I don't get through these things as quick as I need to do. I'm trying to create a lead magnet. I just don't get through those things as quickly as I wish I had. But once I have those things, I see how much quicker and more efficient my time's being utilized, having those things in place, where it's like, shit, if I would have had someone do this for me a month ago, the fact I could have been using this, my time could have been better used for my sales side of my business
100%
versus the marketing side. And this is a marketer saying, I understand marketing. I know what the game plan is, but even I don't have time to wear that hat all the time. And when you do a lot of marketing and sales pick up, you really do take off that marketing hat, because, you have to focus on sales, because that makes sense. We all know we still need to tend to the plants that we're not watering, but like, we don't always do that. We don't always kind of follow that advice, because there's only so many hours in the day. So I hope you don't do that too much, but it is one thing. I know we do it as a marketing company. So I can only assume entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, anybody that does not have like an internal person or an external marketing company doing that for them already, it's hard to wear all those hats. And you are going to suffer more from having that bad game plan on that than maybe keeping that hat on too long.
Right. And I think that, and I did have that issue, and I hired not a VA, but an EA. So, Hayden, who's one of the dames, has handled by Hayden. And so she has executive assistants, and these people that she has on her team were assistants to CEOs for at least 10 years.
Okay. I was about to ask what makes it so much better. Exactly.
Oh my God. And it's way more expensive than a VA, but you know what? It's worth every penny because it's less shit that I have to do, and they're doing it right. And they're not doing it. I've worked with VAs before, and they were okay for menial stuff. And I don't mean that to sound bad. That's going to sound really bad. And I don't want it to, but a virtual assistant at like $5-10 an hour, $15 an hour, or, an executive assistant at, I'm not going to say what I'm paying, it makes a hell of a difference.
Yeah.
And, like this month, she's putting my lead magnet together for my website. She's putting my email marketing plan together because I don't have time.
Yeah.
I'm like so busy. And what's the saying? The plumber always has leaky pipes because they're always so busy fixing everybody else's pipes that they don't have time. Their wife's like, why the hell aren't our pipes fit? Well, I'm out here fixing. Do you want me to make money or do you want me to fix our pipes? Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this is. But I was able to, thank God, get to a position that I'm like, I can take that off my plate and focus on sales. But the craziest thing has been happening, and I'm knock wood and whatever else I could knock. I've had leads coming out of the woodwork this week, just like people coming to me.
Yeah.
Which has been phenomenal. It's
getting
like
close to that time of the year, Iris, the beautiful time where people wait till the last 60 days of the year to start their plan for the next year.
Yes.
We love and we appreciate you. We do. I'm going to say this as a message to any entrepreneur listening to this podcast.
We do.
We appreciate you, but you really need to think about just getting the strategy together a little bit earlier because everybody rushes to us that time and you want some time for us to be able to fit you in pretty quickly.
Right. Well,
But
and
yes.
to be able to take the time that we need instead of like, because we're never going to rush through it, right? So you may have to wait till next year now. Because what people don't understand is that there's a production schedule.
There's a pipeline.
Kofi and I were just talking about this because we have some projects, that are out there right now. And they're not small projects. These are like big ass projects now. And it's like, well, shit, we have like not a backlog, but where normally we'd be like, our turnaround time is like 3-4 weeks. Now we're at like 4 months.
Yeah.
And which is a great problem to have, but holy shit, and then people get upset.
Yeah. And
What
that's
do you mean
kind of where
I have
the
to
hard
wait
part.
4 months?
Yeah. Well, someone else can do this quicker. We literally just had that happen to us this last week. We had, I shit you not, Iris, we had 5 clients who were onboarded within the last 90 days. So someone I talked to sold to work with us within the last 90 days. All of them had some issue with not having access to their domain, their WordPress, their hosting, email, something where we just did not have a login where we could not take everything over to switch it over, so that way they're away from the other company and, it's all under their ownership. And fortunately for us, they all found it the exact same week. And so we said,
of course, because why wouldn't that happen?
Yeah, why wouldn't life just work out, streamlined? So we were kind of like, this is an oh shit moment. We can't give everyone the due time and due diligence, stacking them all on top of one another. So we had to, each one is basically starting a separate week. So that way they can all go through the flow. But at 1 week, I said 5 people. Now I'm telling you to wait 5 weeks for us to start. So it's like one of those issues where, yes, it's a nice growing pain to have it because like, wow, yeah, like I'm not stressed out about sales. I can turn my time a little more back to marketing because we have enough people in sales. I can kind of gear us up for next year. Mm-hmm. But it's a huge stressor. I was just talking to my business partner about it, that it's a struggle because you and I are the salespeople. We have to be transparent and honest during this to therefore set not only the client up for success, but ourselves up for success.
Right.
And with that being the thing,
under promise, over deliver.
100%. And now we have to tell them during the sales call, hey, like this is kind of how our process works. But right now we're kind of on a 3-week delay because we just have some clients that are stacked up right now and we want to give everyone their due time and due diligence. So we're not going to rush through these. So just kind of give you that heads up. But it's always that huge scare because now you have I just paid you all this money and I have to wait.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the hard part. But what I have noticed is being that more transparent with them is I've said that to them. I get that reaction back. And basically kind of what I tell them more to be even more blunt and transparent with them is, let me get real with you real quick. I'm going to give you a questionnaire. We're going to have a meeting to go over that questionnaire. We're going to have a design meeting, potentially a content meeting if we're doing SEO or any content for you. You are not going to get all that stuff to me this week. I will go ahead and just bet you $5 on it. Like, I know you're busy, you already mentioned it, and I don't expect you to work all day Friday to get this to me. Mm-hmm. Like, most likely you're going to take next week, and that's my assumption, because that's what most people take to answer all these questions for us. And I was like, you're going to take a week there. I said, we're going to schedule this call with you. I said, I'll be honest with you. It's been taking a little bit of time for us to schedule a call just between us because you're busy. And, so if we get into your next open calendar event, well, it's most likely going to be the week after. And then the week after is probably we can start. Well, guess what, my man, that's 3 weeks. So I'm being honest with you. It's a 3-week delay, but I can be very, very honest with you. Unless you are the most efficient person in the human
it's a 3-week process
possible race, you're not going to get this stuff to me and be done in 3 days. You are also probably going to take about 3 weeks, which is a perfect time for us to take our time to look through this and get it set up right versus feeling both one of us has to rush because, no offense, you decided December 1st, you need something together January 1st for your marketing and you want a new website, So it's those fun conversations with it. But I've noticed just on my side, sales and just kind of like talking to the business owner, like, I understand what you're trying to do, but we need to be good and graceful with this. Like, rushing and cutting corners will not get you to your end goal any quicker. You're going to fumble that ball on your way to the post line because you're just not there. You're not focused, and it's just going to be awful on both sides of it. So yeah, so I'm glad you're experiencing that as well. But for me, I have seen that kind of seasonal thing for us. And, I'm trying to figure out a better way to encounter it. But we are getting to where, Q4, it starts to pick up some between holidays. It does dip. But I do notice January 2nd, 3rd, or whatever day people are back in the office, I'm flooded with contact forms like the following days after that, because it's, January, what's our 2023 plan? And they're finally getting into it. So maybe that's something that I'm still trying to work on myself on how to kind of manage that to make sure that it is sufficient and efficient as possible. But we can't control seasons, just like our trades can't control the weather to understand, hey, there's no rain, like our roofing business is not going to do well. We need to do other things versus it's hailing and pouring. How are we going to get all these jobs in and done at the same time? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a good problem to have, but I think a lot of the people I deal with anyway, they get it. Like one of the things that we're working on today is this website, and it's a big website. I mean, this thing is like going to be, because he owns the one business, but then he's, acquiring 4 more businesses. And so we have to put all the products and, I said, you just hire CSR. We'll build it. You want to save a shit ton of money? Have the CSR enter the products, because if we enter the products, it's going to A, take longer, and B, it's going to cost you way more than it would be paying, your CSR. So, but I said, normally I would say for a website, 2-3 weeks, something like that, for just like a quick 5-page. I'm like, we're looking at least 4 or 5 months. I said to get this behemoth of, of a site done, but we can do the mothership, if you will, and we could get that done in about 8 weeks, and we can start there and then kind of, and then it also helps with them with paying because it ain't cheap.
Yeah. It's nice to break it down into payments over the course of that.
Right. And also doing it in phases. Right. So, and there's a saying, which I hate, but if I say it, PETA will kill me. So I have to think of a different, how do you eat the world's largest pizza? One bite at a time, right? So, and that's what you have to do with this, because this is such a big project that, and I remember, God, when I first started, I would get a big project and completely freak out, like, how in God's name are we going to get this done? And now it's like, no problem. We kind of look at it, and that's where experience comes in, right? You kind of look at it and go, okay, there's potentially going to be, I don't know how many websites with this thing. So we're going to have the mothership. Let's get that done, because that has like 60 pages on it, 70 pages on it.
Yeah.
With the rest of it. And that's without any of the digital, piece and getting all the other stuff together. So this is just the website. And, the client, understood. He's like, okay, I get it. Let's do it that way. I went, all right, thank you. Because, Kofi's back there going, dude, what the fuck? And I'm like, I know. So,
yeah. And something I feel like I've heard from a few people when they get bids from other competitors, which I love because I try to ask questions, understand what are they doing. I'm just kind of curious what's going on in my market. But some of the big guys here, the big ones I'm talking about are the ones that are like downtown with the marble floors and you're paying for those bad boys, pricing usually. Their websites, I mean, yeah, they're a very big chunk of change, but they're also still like a 6-month project. And it might not be an e-commerce website, like what you're building. I mean, a huge catalog is, yes, that 100% makes sense, but they could be doing just something for a local business that's really, yes, big, but at the end, it's maybe 25 pages total. Not like dynamic, crazy code, anything, but like they wanted the name, the kind of the security that went with it. Right. But the only good thing is at least when they get that bid, if they don't like the price tag, they come to me and they're like, well, they said it was going to take, 4 to 6 months to get this website up. And I come back and I'm just like, 2 to 3 months is what I'm looking at. They're like, done. Like that makes total sense. Like, yes, I wish I had it yesterday, but in comparison to like that, like since you and I are local, like we can kind of be like more agile, I feel like versus kind of when you kind of go with some of those agencies with it. But they're still the ones that have the quick turnaround time, but I feel like you kind of get what you pay for with some of those as well.
I was just going to say that. And that's what I love about you. Yeah, you get what you pay for. And if you get a rush job done, it's going to show. It's going to show. So of course this is, for entrepreneurs and all that. And so what were you doing before, you became an entrepreneur with One Thing? What is your background?
So beforehand, Iris and I were talking, I let my accent out a little bit or a lot. The quick short story into it is I actually went to UK and I went to merchandising, apparel, and textiles was my major. And I really wanted to get into fashion merchandising or design and went to New York, visited it. It snowed a foot every day I was there for Fashion Week, in which the school took us to. And I was like, can't do it. Sorry. Love it. But no, I'm a warm weather girl, as you can tell by the Southern accent. 1
week in the snow. Come on, you wuss.
Well, the problem was,
because where I'm from. So, that's.
I know. Well, the problem was little Brittnay at that time had only one pair of like snow rain boots with her. And they basically leaked in every single day. So I had wet socks walking around New York. And then I finally bought a new pair of boots. And then I ripped those on day 2 wearing them. And I was like, I'm not buying $100 more pair of boots that are going to rip. So I'm just going to sit here miserable. Yeah. So I didn't love that side of it. But because I didn't fall in love with that, actually Target Corporation came to our college and had like a huge type of hiring position for their executive team leader program is what they called it back then, to basically be like a one below the GM for all the stores nationwide. And I interviewed, got it. And at first I was interviewed to be soft lines, which meant all, shoes, clothing, apparel, jewelry, kind of like a third of the store. That's the fun part that, I went to school for. Went through training, and then they said, no, we're going to send you to the other side, which is basically 90% of the store. That is your grocery, your home goods, your technology, and your cosmetics and your medicines and all the BS that you have to pull out of the back end because it's bought literally every single second off the rack. So I did that for a while. I did a lot of leadership training there. I'll be honest, I hated every day working there. It was the worst experience of my life, but it really taught me how to actually be more of a leader and kind of understand, like, fresh out of college, what the fuck not to do.
Right.
And some things to do and kind of run with. I was basically a manager, people double my age who had worked there about the same years that I had been alive so far. So
yeah, that's always a problem. Kofi, we have to pause this for a second because Piper is eating the remote and she's going to die.
Oh,
sorry, guys.
Good.
So you were talking about, okay, so full transparency, because this is a fully transparent podcast. Once in a while, we will have interruptions because we know I have dogs. And my 5-month-old had the remote in her mouth. And so we paused this for a second. So Kofi, you can put that thing in that you did for Amy. Did I tell you about that? That was awesome.
No.
So I had Amy Burks on, and I told my landscapers that I do my podcast. At the time, it was on Wednesdays. Don't come on Wednesday, come on Thursdays. So, and it was like 4:00, and we're in the middle of our thing. So 4:30, whatever. And all of a sudden I look and there's a person here. And I was like, what the what? So I'm like looking at him and he's waving and I'm like, no. So we had to stop it. And I went outside and I'm like, you can't be here now. I'm doing this. And he's like, well, we texted you. And I'm like, I don't look at my phone when I'm doing a podcast. And I told him not to be here till tomorrow. Well, anyway, Kofi put this little thing in with me, you know, sitting like this and it going around in a circle, like, you know, pardon our pardon our dust or whatever. So
yeah, no,
it was pretty awesome. Okay. So do you remember where you were?
Yep.
Good, because I do. So.
Yeah. So basically, I had to manage people that were double my age at that time. And it was a whirlwind of an experience for the first 2 years out of college.
And that's hard, right? Because they're like, who's this little whippersnapper telling me what to do?
Yeah. And the funny part about it,
and you're a woman, so that I'm sure helped.
Yes. And what was even the harder part at that time is Target had just started that whole program of going into college universities and really honing in specific majors to talk to more. So what I mean by that, it was very luckily a couple of years prior, there was a girl from merchandise and apparel textiles major who had interviewed and they loved her. She was phenomenal, amazing. And they were like, holy shit, maybe this is the major that understands retail. And we're like, well, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Like merchandising, apparel and textiles. Yes, there's apparel and textiles, but merchandising is how to sell shit in your store.
Yes.
And plus we all got minors in business because there was only a few more classes because we were basically a business major, but we were in the College of Agriculture because who knew? So that's why I joked that I picked up more of an accent because at the University of Kentucky, their merchandise, apparel, and textiles majors are within the College of Agriculture, which has a lot of people who do not do anything outside of the farms or agricultural related things. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So it was a very fun whirlwind experience. I had my first boss was amazing, taught me so much, actually even got me one of the, John C. Maxwell books on leadership and kind of how to be a good leader. Unfortunately, he was promoted and we had a new GM. And of course, all of us were hoping we could get the new GM spot. And, they dangle that carrot in front of you a very long time in corporate life, luckily. And so we had a new guy come in. He was okay, came from Walmart, kind of came like a bull in a china shop. And unfortunately did not understand the weight that was on he did understand the weight that was on my shoulders in the beginning. And then about 6 months in, because I had so much to do and not enough people to actually manage it, he was getting reprimanded because I was underperforming technically. And then our relationship just divided because well, why isn't this done? And I was like, you literally talked to me last week. You saw that 3 people called in. I had to do this by myself and I worked 80 hours last week. And this is a 200-hour set to complete. So what do you want me to do? Like, if I don't have the body power here, like I'm calling people left and right, like I'm just going to go through it. So it was one of those times where I'm very glad I got out of the corporate life not right after that. I had a job in between then in one thing marketing, but it really kind of taught me at that time, like I didn't know how to stand up for myself. And like now kind of talking to other business owners, as I mentioned before, like if there's some pushback, that's fine. Like we can have a conversation without it being conflict, but I feel way more comfortable in my skin now to be able to stand my ground, not push back, but just really kind of hold like, no, this is what I'm about. This is my boundaries. This is what I believe is right. And I know this is going to work and that's fine if we don't jive like that. But it was kind of one of those things where like so it was basically those first 3 years out of college were just everything related to that until I kind of luckily found One Thing Marketing and was at that time a complete startup with only the owner. And that's kind of when I jumped on board with him and became the complete business development side of everything. So that's sales, marketing, and also client management was my previous position when I was first with that. So I manned everything, but physically building all the websites because he would do all that for me, but I laid them out basically. So it was nice that he was like my VA. Like I was basically the face of it. And this was my VA behind the curtains that was building everything while I was talking to the clients and explaining things back in English. So it was a huge learning curve from what I had done previously, but it was such a good thing because from all the positions I had, I really had that love and creative background for marketing. You know, and everything I was looking into my major, it's all about being creative and how do you market yourself best. Merchandising is marketing. It's just a different form of it. So,
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really kind of great through all of that as far as, you know, I know, I'm sorry, this is probably a lot longer background than what you needed, but that's kind of where my journey led through to kind of really get with this. So yeah, this next year is going on year 9. And
wow.
To be honest, never thought this is where I'd be, what I'd be doing, and kind of the success that this has had with it. But that's kind of the fun and scary part of a startup and a new business is you have no fucking clue. I mean, the line to success has never looked like this. It's this along the way, and you know, an up and down adventure with it. But I think that's kind of what keeps us all, if we still have that passion, us engaged, because it is where when you're on top of it and things are great, it's amazing. It's a roller coaster ride. When things aren't great, when you kind of get back to the great, like that's what always makes me happy. So the little seasonal cycles that you and I experience with sales, you know, at the new year, when people are looking at their marketing plans versus high time in summer, when most are more focused on taking their first vacation, you know, for summertime, and kind of leads die off at that point. You know, it's really kind of fun to where you see, oh, things are revving up again. And like you get to implement everything that you spent that time, hopefully on your off season, processing out or streamlining or doing any of those things that we're supposed to do. You know, that 80% you're supposed to work on the business versus, you know, work in the business.
In the business, yeah. I mean, that's what I tell my clients is you want me so that you can work on the business and not in the business. And now I'm actually for the first time working, I mean, I'm always working in the business, but now I'm working on it. Like I'm trying to put systems in place so that shit doesn't fall through the cracks. Right. And you know, it's kind of humbling because you're like, for me, it's like, I can handle anything, you know, I can handle whatever workload, you know, Kofi, you know, does a lot of it. And I try to be really cognizant of his time and everything. And then I have, you know, other people on my team and I try to be cognizant of their time. And it's like, okay, we probably have to get more people, which, you know, to me being at that point right now is I'm not good with change. And I'm, you know, if I know something works, it's like, if it ain't broke, you know, don't fix it. But this is going to be like a necessary evil. And it's a good problem to have. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm happy. I'm excited about it. But you know, it's one of those things, and this is like a good lead in, you know, when people think about becoming an entrepreneur, they have, unless they've really done research on what they want to do and all that, they have no clue like what they're getting into. And I remember for me, it was out of necessity because I told you I got fired from that company. And it was one of those, you know, kind of like trial by fire and figure it out. And, you know, here it is with Gas Stove, you know, almost 9 years later. And, you know, we're strong. Our reputation is phenomenal because I break my ass for my clients. They know it. One of my clients, it was hilarious. They were doing a soft launch down in Carmel, Indiana. And, you know, they wanted to have a really good appearance for their, for the community. And in the bathroom, their toilet paper holder was broken. Like it wasn't sitting on the wall right. So I was like, I'll fix it. I'll bring my drill before we open because I had to help them with the banner anyway. I'm like, I'll just bring my drill and fix it. And Julie was like, you're going to fix my toilet paper holder? I'm like, yeah. So
part Heather, of the experience.
I mean, I know how to do it. So I do all that shit in my house. I can do it for you.
We wrote blogs about it. We can figure out how to pick up a tool and actually do it.
I mean, hello, right? Well, where women's is. And Heather and I are getting ready, and I get my drill and I put the battery in and I get my little toolbox, and she's like, "Why the fuck are you bringing a drill?" I'm like, "Oh, I have to fix the toilet paper holder." She's like, "Of course you do." Like she wasn't even like shocked. So I get there and I fix it, and then her boss is like, "Really good to meet you, blah blah blah," and Julie's like, "She just fixed our toilet paper holder." She's like talking about going above and beyond. And for me, it's not, I want to help however I can. And that's like a small little, it was really a small thing. It was taking a couple of anchors, sticking it in the wall the right way, drilling the damn anchor and putting the thing on, boom, it's done. I mean, it took me 5 minutes. So the company that they worked with before, never would have even come up. But they were getting charged agency fees for just crap. And I don't play that game.
Yeah.
To me, it's, if we're going to have an hour, 2 hours time, I'll charge you for the 2 hour, whatever. But if you call me and we're on the phone for 15 minutes, I'm not sitting down every time you call me writing, okay, spoke to for 15 minutes. Okay, that's another 15 minutes. And like it adds up for the month. And then all of a sudden you get this like $5,000 fee. Yeah. It was crazy. They were doing business cards and they got like a $4,000 fee for business cards. The business cards might have cost like $90 for like whatever. And you're charging $4,000. Like, what is that even? I couldn't even imagine. So now, because of all the work that I did, not the toilet paper holder thing, but, because of the work that I did, because she knows I'm now on a retainer to train her on marketing. So basically do marketing consulting. And then also we're getting all their business for like signage. I'm not in the sign business. Well, I am now, whatever they needed, I can help them with. Their website is, because it's a bank. I didn't want that because of all the security involved. I don't want that responsibility. But we help them with, other things and, promotional items. I'm not in the promotional item business, but guess what? They needed stuff. It's like, okay, whatever you need. And it's one of those things that for me, because I'm boutique and because it's me, I can do that.
Yeah. And even if you weren't boutique and you couldn't do it, I mean, the whole other premise is like what we're doing. We're networking with one another. So therefore, doing right by your client is to pass them to a referral partner like, and trust that's also going to take care of them.
Oh, 100%. Like anytime I get any kind of an SEO thing that's, it's going to you. It's going to you because I don't, I'm not allowed to do it in Indiana and Pennsylvania, but, besides that, I know it's another story. But, you're going to do it way better than me. And I know that. So why am I going to do it? And that's the point. That's the point is that, that's why you have partners that do the same thing that you do, because it's same, but it's also, there's also differences. And that's where, so for somebody who's like out there going, man, I want to start my own business, or I want to start this from scratch or do a startup, what advice do you have for them?
I mean, so lately I've actually I just opened a new LLC. So I'm kind of going through the process of doing this all over again with a different venture. But really,
wait, we didn't talk about that. Okay, we got to talk about that offline.
Well, very first stages, but it's going to be, it's very much on the pause seat right now, just with how the economy is going. But it's going to be more of like real estate. So buy holds with just like rental opportunities is kind of that entity that me and my fiance are going down. But with that, and even with One Thing Marketing, I mean, like the biggest thing I can't literally scream from the mountaintops as much as possible. It's like, you've got to ask people shit. And I like how I got zoomed in right when I had to say that part of it, but like, you really do. There's so much you don't know. And so for instance, with just our marketing agency, like we're always trying to ask different CPAs, different advice, like we have one, but that doesn't mean that maybe that's always the best plan. So just like asking questions to people who, that have different experiences and different backgrounds. That's like one example of it. But really, when it kind of came back to like the real estate venture we're going down, I have done so much networking. Once I mentioned that to some very close friends that was kind of what we're going down, they had acquaintances who are either in title or in appraisals or, like actually people who already own properties themselves. And they were just like, hey, do you want to talk to them? And I was like, I would absolutely love to talk to them.
Yeah.
And I'm not a shy person to say, I don't know.
You're not shy? I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
I know, right? Weird, but yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of a person that I like to be a sponge, like, and I want to absorb as much as possible. So I don't absorb things unless I ask questions. And again, when I was younger, never stood up, never asked questions, and that's probably why half the time my subordinates below me at Target hated me because I didn't know jack shit, and I was too afraid to ask anybody what could I do to get better. And unfortunately, in that corporate world, when you finally ask someone, nobody was actually your friend. It was the worst thing. I mean, I had people who I went to college with that, like behind my back were basically tattling on me versus giving me the advice of, hey, this person over here has not been working the last 3 hours. But instead they tattled on me because I didn't walk around the building enough to see that person not working. I'm putting out fires. I'm the manager. Like I'm the person I'm the LOD, the leader on duty. So what that means is anyone with a walkie-talkie that says, I need the manager, you're that bitch that has to go answer that problem with some person that wants to return something that they used 18 times and it has no nail polish anymore, but they didn't like the color. It's situations such as that. You're the one that has to go deal with. It's the small fires that every business owner has to kind of come up with. And I apologize since I got a little bit off topic, but what was the original question I was trying to get your answer to?
We were just talking about like what advice you would have for entrepreneurs, but just to get back on that, I managed, I'm old, so I managed like a service merchandise back in the day. And I had to do the same thing, except I was responsible for the whole store. And so there were, it was a catalog store. This is like way before your time, but you would go in and there was like a computer. Oh my God. So you would place an order on the computer, right? You would like write it down on a piece of paper and then you would look in the computer and then the thing, why are you crying? I'm sorry. My dog is crying. I'm sorry. Hang on a minute. Okay, pause. So, as a manager there, I was responsible for everything, and we had it was called the pickup area. So you would go to the computer, you would place your order, and then the order would go upstairs, and then they would fulfill it. And then at the pickup area, there was like this a conveyor belt, a down conveyor belt. So they would throw the order on the conveyor belt, and it could be like an armoire, like a jewelry armoire. It could be like a telescope. When I was working there, I'm so freaking old. Like Tickle Me Elmo and Nintendo 64 came out that year, and it was insane. Yeah. So I feel it. And when I started working there was this one guy, Bill, who was, he had to be 65, 67, something. He was like close to that. And I was like 32. And he was working there like forever. And I had to kind of direct him, and I'll never forget. And I was very respectful about it, because we're respectful about it. And I did ask questions. I'd be like, I don't understand this. Mm-hmm. And he'd be like, well, little lady. And so finally I said, Bill, can you not call me little lady? And he's like, honey, you don't get your panties in a bunch. And I'm like, okay, this is not going to go well. And, whatever. And then now we fast forward however many years, and I'm in Lafayette, Indiana. And I have this guy who is going to be a client, and I'm getting ready to do a presentation. It's him, and he has a partner getting ready to do a presentation. And he goes, where's the owner? And I said, I'm the owner. Like, why would you? Well, isn't there a guy involved in this? And when I first started Gas Stove, I had a kind of like a partner, Lee. And I said, no, he kind of works with me. I own like everything is in my name. And he's like, well, is he coming? I said, no, he's not. I said, I don't think this is going to work. So he goes, honey, don't get your panties in a bunch. And it shot me back to like those days, right? And I kind of looked at him and I said, what? And he comes over and he put his arm around my shoulder and he said, you women are just too damn sensitive sometimes. And I pushed him away and I said, don't ever fucking touch me again. And I looked at his partner and I'm like, no, this is never going to work. So I unplugged my little presenter and I took my laptop and I left. So later on that day, his partner called me and he goes, we really want to work with you. So what if you just deal with me? And I said, no. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, if you get hit by a truck, I'm stuck with him. And he was like, yeah. Good point. Because I was like, I will never. And I know I just got totally off track, but I think it was the age thing and the woman thing and how, we look at things different. And so the original question was, what advice would you have for an entrepreneur or somebody thinking about becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, my first, we've dabbled around it, but yes, my first answer is really, just pull all your resources together, ask those questions. Like, do not be shy. You are, again, just like I said, if you're not delegating, giving that time, like you not asking for those resources is just delaying you from getting to that next step. I've talked to so many people where I had that first like marketing strategy call with them. And I can see kind of like that sense, like, I'm sure it's like that sigh of, oh, okay, I understand this. This makes sense. This is neat. And you're like, I usually try to make sure you understand what you're going into because, you're going to invest in this. We're going to invest our time in this and we want to make sure it's a good fit. And they're like, no, I didn't think I'd understand this. And I've like been holding back marketing for months, years, whatever time frame they have, because I was kind of too nervous to talk to someone about it because I was afraid they're going to talk over my head, that it would just be so complicated. I was already so scared of it that it stopped me from even taking the first step to do it.
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of the thing, like we all just kind of have to let our ego go when it comes to that. Because again, like we said earlier, like you're going to be good at only a few things. And like the joke, my company name is, you might be good at just one freaking thing. And that's freaking fantastic. You're great at that. There's people that are great at this many things. And that's a big zero for those who are just listeners. And so utilizing those resources, it's always something where like, I'm sure you've probably gotten 10 times better advice, but that's something where if you've delayed or stopped yourself from doing it, do it.
Which is great. I think that's great advice. Piper agrees. She's sitting outside the window. Like, I want to be in there with you. So for a seasoned entrepreneur, somebody who's, been in business 8-9 years and, we all go through struggles, right? Or, obstacles. What are some obstacles that you've gone over or, that you've overcome through what you're doing? Yeah.
So as far as obstacles, it's current, it's always going to be an ongoing problem, but really for us, it's kind of hiring. Just as you mentioned earlier, we're talking delays, we're needing to somewhat scale our business to match demand in a sense therefore we can still give really good time to everybody, but, we also want to grow. And that's something for us has kind of always been a struggle. So when it comes to that, there might be something where, okay, like we need something that's going to do this specific task for us. Like here's all the data entry stuff. Like here's everything tracking we do for our clients. Okay, let's get someone that can make these reports and can do, we'll literally make a guide, a whole process. We'll make a video. A blind monkey could watch this and know exactly what to do to create these reports. So therefore that saves us, an hour or two per each client per each month. Holy shit. Okay. If you have 20 clients, boom, there's 20 hours each month we're already saving. Huge benefit for us to do that. Problem is,
can't find anybody.
You can't find anybody. And and the hard part is that's kind of where I love work with the trades because that's usually the thing they always say to us as well. And that's kind of why I mentioned like we do ads, but most times my strategies don't include it because my guys don't have the ability to scale their employee base.
Right.
And, we're kind of the same market. And the funny part that I laugh about it, and Iris, I'd love to know if, even when you're talking to Kofi and getting him on with this is there's a lot of people who want to get into marketing. And then once they actually understand what marketing is, it's not just designing pretty graphics all day. And especially in our world, I mean, if I'm just more talking the SEO world, there's no pretty freaking graphics you're going to mess with. Like it is boring, counting, measuring. I mean, it is the most boring stuff. And I'm obviously not the person that does all the reporting, because I'm not the detailed person you need that can master that. I'm more the spokesperson. Like that's my role in the company there. But like when they actually understand, like that's what we do. Like you want someone to rank because you think that's cool. Well, yeah, it is cool. Okay. This is what we have to do that. And, you know, we have one of our newest hires. He was like, I didn't know this is all it entailed. He was like, it's really cool, but it was very intimidating just coming on. And he's been with us for about 6 months now. And, you know, within that side of it, it's like, yeah, I mean, like we've had people who previously we try to hire some local, and we're kind of capped on what we want to be locally. We'll hire more VAs as time needs to delegate when we have surplus, you know, surplus is kind of coming in and out. But I mean, that team aspect of it is very difficult. So it's kind of where, you know, I know people mention culture, people mention that as far as overcoming like a hiring issue with it. But actually, be honest, a thing I found as a resource that has been game changing for me is I actually found a company called Culture Index. There's a guy here, Mike G. Hall, locally in Louisville. He works for them, and it is basically, have you ever heard of you've heard of predictive index,
yes,
assessments, Myers-Briggs?
Yep. Yes.
Oh my God, girl. So this is basically if all of those had an orgy together and made like the Elon Musk of a baby genius. Sorry for the reference and analogies, guys.
Okay.
It's 5 o'clock.
We're making this one explicit, which is hilarious because it says, "Is this explicit on YouTube?" And I usually go, "No," but this is going to be fucking hilarious. This is going to be awesome because it's going to be yes, this is explicit.
Yeah. So we try to warn you in the beginning, guys. So sorry, I got to that point. We've been recording for a little bit.
Now, people who know me now, you see why she's like my sister from another mister, because this is just Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So I actually met with him, and so yes, okay. This Elon Musk of a genius personality text baby is basically what it is. So they have it's an 8-minute test. You select different words that you think categorize you. They actually have what do you call them? Not time bombs, but that little not Tetris game, but that little mind game where like you clicked on
Minecraft or whatever.
The old computer game.
Oh.
The bombs kind of
Kofi,
game. Yeah.
Kofi, you have any idea?
Whenever it comes to us, we'll think about it. Yeah. But anyways, sorry. Yes. So it tells you all of that. And then it basically tells you a lot of parameters as far as everything about your personality. And it is the most accurate, which actually they don't advertise this, and I don't know why they don't, but like you can actually use this in your hiring process, and it's 100% legal because it has a 98-point-something% accuracy.
Yeah. Well, a lot of companies do use them. They will have people take them. And I think I'm a DI. So.
Well, I'm an ID, so no wonder we get along. We're pretty similar on that nature. Yeah, I'm like back to back. Like mine are like literally this much far apart. My S and C are like base low. Yeah. I have no patience and I have no attention to detail. So like I'm making strategies, like I'm really getting to the point because this is where my mind can focus detail. But after that, I have to move on to something else because I can't be the horse with the blinders on for too long. But anyways, they have just so like it's accurate. We can actually use it versus like PI is I think 80-something%, which technically it's not legal to use that for hiring purposes. But what we've done with that is we had him come. He tested all of our employees, and what you test on is who you are, and then you test on exactly what you think this job entails. And what we were able to see is who's matching on what they are just like naturally with what that job is. And so a problem we were having was getting the right people in the right seats and to stay in those seats. But the problem was we were actually starting with, we didn't have the right people even in the right seats. And so, so it's kind of where that helped us a lot with hiring was, okay, we need to describe these jobs as to what this personality type is and what they'd be doing, because that speaks to them more. You know, if you're trying to hire someone for sales and marketing, you're going to need to say more things that would appeal to me and my personality type versus I need someone who's calculated, data-driven. You know, like if you'd use those words, I'd be like, well, that's not me. I can't market for you if that's what you're looking for. And kind of going through that. So it's really helped us. And one thing I learned about myself is my we versus me team player aspect. I'm a huge we player. In sales, you have to be a me player, which means you're okay with rejection. You're okay with basically being turned down and still being consistent and persistent, kind of pursuing those things. And so from that test with that, I talked to my business partner. I said, okay, You have to work with me because I'm about to change a whole marketing strategy for us internally because I need more warm leads as much as possible because this is where I'm getting burnt out.
Right.
And, this was last year. So I was like, I'm at year 7. And I was like, I'll be honest with you, man. I was like, I'm kind of getting the 7-year itch. I love what I do, but it's just hard. And, as an entrepreneur, you get bored of your business at times because maybe you're angry, you're frustrated, and you're just confused on what to do. And I was kind of in that aspect of it, like, hey, I've grown to this point, like, what's wrong? And so that personality test really helped me, and it also helped our team. And now we're trying to use it as much as possible. So when we're actually looking for people to hire, making them take that. So we take the test first to say, this is what we think that person should be like, this detail oriented, this introverted or extroverted, this outgoing, whatever it might be. And then we make them take it. So if they match that personality test, then we actually pursue the interview with them because we know it's already going to be a good fit. Now we just got to make sure it's a good person because no personality test is ever going to be able to tell you if someone's a good, genuine person, if they're a cheater or a liar behind your back. I mean, like, you're never going to learn that side of it. So it's, it kind of really helps on that side of it. So I try to tell that to my trades just because I understand it's such a problem with it. But if you can get the right butts in the right seats, like, that's the biggest obstacle and one of the biggest ones to help your company grow if you can get over it.
And you're the first person that has been on here that has said that. Everybody else is, they come up with whatever. But this, I think, is so important because if you don't have the right person in the right seat, it's not gonna move forward because they're not happy.
Backwards.
You can go backwards. You can 100% go backwards. For me, I love the relationship part of it, right? I love the strategy piece of it. I love the consulting piece of it. I suck, if I were to build a website, it would take me, like, what takes Kofi a week would take me like 5 months. I just, that's just not where my strength is. And so, to know that just makes it that much smoother. And so thank you for that because nobody's ever said that. And I think that's really important. So for you seasoned entrepreneurs out there, get the asses in the right seats. Okay. So, and this is something that I'm actually working on with some clients. As you can see, my angel light is coming in. La, the angels are singing. Okay. No, it's still there. Okay.
It's okay. You're like Beyonce. Wear your halo, girl.
I am. My wife.
Whatever the new sayings are.
Giant lie. But so, what is your differentiator? And I'm doing something with clients now that because people don't, people look at what they do and they look at what their, for lack of a better word, competitors do, and there's a lot of similarities. But what makes you different from another marketing agency? Like, why would somebody choose you over me? No, over somebody else. I'm teasing. I had to say that.
There's different things they can go to each of us for. I mean, that's always kind of been a hard thing. I mean, you're trying to explain not only why you're great, but you're trying not to like out the other person to make yourself look bad. It's always like that fine line. I joke when it comes to sales of like, so I love the way you phrase it. Like, what is your actual differentiator? So I'm gonna give you something we've created, and it's not that it's my biggest differentiator because honestly, I think Iris is a great competitor. I have nothing to say to throw her under the bus. So what I would prefer to talk about is something I'm trying to incorporate in our own business and our own process to be more advantageous to our clients in hopes that they really gain the benefit of it. And what that is for us is we have created with our ongoing clients what we call unlimited marketing coaching. And you might kind of already be doing something similar to this, Iris, but it's kind of where I've been really trying to push this in front of our guys every time we meet to make sure they understand what that is. And basically, for anyone who wants to steal this idea, it's kind of saying, hey, client, if you have any ideas of something you want to do that's similar to what I already help you with, and I mean, this could be if you're a bookkeeper, if they're looking to do anything else with their money or their funds or how their data operates. I mean, this could be something to stick yourself into. For me, it's obviously anything marketing. Hey, if you're looking to do this, let me know. Ask me advice. Literally all it is. I will freely consult you. So therefore you make a better decision on what you're about to spend your time, money, tears, sweat, and cuss words on. Right. Like, you could be going down a really great path and I could encourage you and help you make it 10 times better with maybe a few tips, tricks, ideas, suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I could help you not go down a path that's really dark, scary, and has no one's ever returned back from. So it's kind of something where like, it's really been a benefit. And I've kind of been even told my clients like, hey, if this is something you can do, like pair with something else you can kind of help consult with, because, you know, if you're a home remodeler and they're also looking to maybe do their furnace or, you know, updo their AC, I mean, and if you their HVAC, why don't you partner with a local HVAC company? Like, would that make your appointment with them 10 times better? You know, I mean, given you might think that's competition, but if the client's like, I know I have to fix this because it's 25 years old and it broke last summer, so I have to fix it before this summer. You heard them, you listened, and you said, how can I be a bigger asset for them? I will help them. Here is a resource I can help give you to, so I can help give you knowledge to make a better decision. So for something like that, for that, like we've only had a few clients use it, but why I think it's a differentiator is I actually have a quick example. One of our clients, it's a roofer in Texas. They were kind of interested in something that we didn't at the time understand how interested they were in it, because we didn't do our due diligence to ask blunt questions. But also we try to tell everybody, hey, unlimited marketing coaching, anything you need help with or any ideas you want to go down, tell us. You know, so unfortunately we didn't have the connection of, oh, they're serious about this, let's go ahead and, you know, help them look into this. They ended up getting approached by someone in town who has that service. They got sold on it, and then they basically told us about it, and we said, oh, okay. Well, just so you know, like we kind of did look into it, but we didn't send this info to you because we didn't have a connection that you were interested in it. I know you're paying like $1,200 a month for it, but it's actually only $250. And that's what they're using. And so we had to go down. So we basically spent, you know, like a lot of time kind of going through that process with them to try to see if we can get them out of it. Unfortunately, we couldn't, but from us bitching enough to that company about basically 3 times pricing and adding on some crap services that we don't really think is going to drive much for the business outside of what we're doing with our website, like they got an extra city added on and they got some extra benefits out of it. So at least, you know, they got even more, and now they got more priced what they probably should have gotten priced originally with it. But it's little stuff like that. I mean, if you don't ask, if you don't include people because you're nervous, afraid, scared, embarrassed, like whatever it might be, like, again, you might be taking 2 steps back and only a step forward versus 2 steps forward and a step back. So that's kind of where, you know, when it kind of comes to that, like, I think that's our differentiator, but I think almost anyone, like, steal this idea, like make something that you could help them with, because the more of an asset you are to your client, the more likely they are going to want to refer you, you know, and
100%.
not that. And yeah, not that we need to live and breed off referrals, but giving them a great customer experience and doing things like that, like that's the differentiator to me. Like they're going to remember the little things you did. And even for that roofing client, as I mentioned, if anyone is near Texas, there's a huge drought. So it's very hard for roofing companies to get a lot of leads right now. So with that example we gave them, they're like, hey, like I know you're working your asses off to, you know, we just started with you. Like I know you're working your ass off, but you doing your due diligence with that, like made a difference for us to understand how invested you are. So even though, yes, we know the weather's kind of really shitty, like no one's calling any businesses right now, like we at least know that when weather does pick up, like you've done everything when we can't see it right now, that'll add up in the future, 6 months from now, when it is springtime and there is rain, and we're going to start to get a lot more calls from it. So that would be my answer for that long.
Cool. Okay. Well, that's, I mean, look, added value is always a good thing. So, and the last question that I always ask everybody, because we're at like an hour and 13, and we're probably we may end up shaving this a little, we'll see. But first off, thank you for being on and for taking time out of your day, because it's always fun. It's always fun talking to you.
My pleasure too.
And this definitely went off the rails a little, but that's what the fun thing about this podcast is. There's no structure. I mean, I try to get the questions in, and if I can get them in, I get them in. If I can't, I can't. But I think it's more about, you know, the audience learning about the guests and getting a feel for that. So I think, you know, and you're awesome. So it's always fun. So thank you. And
thank you.
The last question I always ask my guests is, what lights your fire? So what are you passionate about? And it could be personal, professional, you know, whatever, but what lights Brittnay up?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go personal just because it has passion. It's like my new obsession. I am so into plants and gardening now. It's actually kind of scary. I grew up as like the black thumb in my family. Like I had an old ex's sister give me a pothos, and I almost killed it accidentally, you know, not on purpose, but like it just was struggling so bad. I've now turned into from a black thumb to a green thumb. And it is so freaking fun, Iris. I have grown vegetables all along the side of my house. I have collected way too many plants that are inside my house that my fiance is slowly asking when I'll start to kill them. So there's more space in the house. But it's so fun because I'll be honest, I mean, just like marketing, I think what's similar for gardening, I mean, other than the fact I love the nature aspect of it, but it's watching something grow. And it's watching something that you are tending to and continue to take care of, continue to grow. And it's kind of like, I think, just a good analogy for life. You know, I might mess up, overwater something, or forget to water something when I'm out on vacation. It looked like death. Basically try to revive it and just slowly bring it back to life. It's a fun process. And it's kind of like how, you know, we bounce back as humans as well. So it's kind of a good reminder that shit can go wrong. You could have someone treat you really badly, but you still have the ability to spring back from it. And you can't change what you are fully, like a plant can't either, but you can really kind of mold and adapt to that, which plants do. I mean, they really adapt, and that's kind of the fun part about it as well.
That is
so
awesome. That's like one of the best answers I've heard. Well, wow. Okay. Well, thank you. I'm so glad we met. Really.
Yes.
And we need to do our wine thing soon.
Yeah.
But so again, thanks for taking the time, for being on here, and we're gonna have you on next year, you know, second quarter, and we'll see where we're at with all the things. And everybody out there, I want to, you know, thank you, you know, for just tuning in, whether you're listening on your, you know, AirPods, or I just gave Apple a plug. But whether you're listening, you know, on a podcast or watching, just really thank you for taking time out of your day to listen. And I really hope that you gleaned some really good information. And I know that this was a little bit more of an explicit episode than usual, but you know what? I mean, that's kind of like the real me. I curse a lot and I like to have fun. So thank you so much for joining. I'm going to sign off for now. Till next time, Iris Goldfeder, and go out, find what lights your fire. Bye, everyone.